Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jonny Bowden, and I want to talk to you today about something that's very serious: free speech. And I'm posting this around Labor Day because that's also a kind of quintessential American holiday, and free speech is kind of a quintessential American right, or at least it should be. And the reason that I'm talking about it today to you is because a couple of days ago, all of the social media accounts of a website called GreenMedInfo were taken down. Now, I don't want so much to relitigate the information that they put up on GreenMedInfo. I'd rather talk to you about the whole process of monitoring and censoring social media. But I do want to tell you a little bit about GreenMedInfo, the site. So the site was started by a man named Sayer G. And I've interviewed Sayer G. I've used the site for references for lots of articles. He started the site with an absolute commitment to getting evidence-based, scientifically backed studies and information supporting nutritional supplements and some of the things that weren't necessarily in the mainstream of pharmaceutical conventional medicine. And he did a great job of it. And a couple of years ago, he married one of the great psychiatrists whose work I recommend all the time, Dr. Kelly Brogan, who wrote a wonderful book called A Mind of Her Own, which is on how she treats adolescent girls and young women for depression without using pharmaceuticals. And she talks about functional medicine, and she talks about lifestyle medicine and the role of the gut and the role of sleep and stress reduction and vitamin D and all those things. And she's a terrific lady with wonderful credentials. So they got married, and they now run GreenMedInfo together. And I know both of them. They are intelligent, they are educated, they are soft-spoken, they are passionate. They're hardly wide-eyed radicals disseminating dangerous information. Might be dangerous to the establishment, but it's hardly the kind of thing that needs to be censored. But Twitter and Instagram thought it was. And it was mainly censored, not for all the information that they've given over the years about nutritional supplements and different things of that nature, but because they've been questioning a lot of the information that's been coming down the pike about COVID from the conventional sources. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I don't agree with everything that they've said on GreenMedInfo about COVID. I think they've gone a little far. I think that they've gone a little bit into the Bill Gates, George Soros conspiracy theory end of the spectrum. But I will fight to the death for their right to be on social media saying what they're saying. It has nothing to do with whether or not you agree with it. I grew up as a Jew in New York City at the same time that Donald Trump did, in one neighborhood away, Jackson Heights, Queens. And during that time, there was something called the American Nazi Party, led by a guy named George Lincoln Rockwell. And they were doing a lot of marches through neighborhoods. Some of those neighborhoods were Jewish. And I grew up in a household where the American Civil Liberties Union was taken very seriously. My father was an attorney. And the American civil liberties would say, if you don't fight for the right of the Nazis to have their free speech, you can't fight for free speech. Fighting for free speech means that people who say stuff you don't agree with have the right to be heard. I grew up believing that, and I believe it now. Sayer G and Kelly Brogan are terrific people who have views that not everyone agrees with. They have a right to be there. And if you don't care that they were taken down for actually pretty minor stuff. I mean, they reposted something that Senator Rand Paul tweeted. And Senator Rand Paul wasn't banished from Twitter for the same tweet that they took down on social media for GreenMedInfo. So I guess what I'm saying here is that the loss of the ability to have free discourse is greater than any danger of what could be said in that discourse. Now, people will say, listen, you can't have people going out online and telling people to be drinking, Clorox to save themselves from COVID. And I go, yes, you can. You can, because we can't protect people from bad information. What we can do is make people be smarter consumers of information. I don't want you not to hear what I don't agree with. And I don't want to not be able to hear what I don't agree with or what I do agree with. This stuff has to be in a free forum and an exchange of ideas. No matter how, as my grandmother would say, mischievous or crazy it is, it has a right to be heard. As long as nobody's being incited to violence or being told to shoot somebody or bomb someone, we need this discourse, and we should all, and I'm talking about the far right and the far left, I'm talking Republicans, Democrats, people in the middle, we all, none of us want to live in a world where we can't say what we think and we can't present it honestly, not inciting to riot. People have very legitimate concerns about the data that's coming in from COVID. I have very legitimate concerns. I still wear a mask, I still distance, I still take vitamin D, I still do what's socially required to make a community and to show that I'm part of that community. But I have my doubts. I don't think that all the info is in yet. I think 10 years from now we'll be going, oh my God, they thought that? Remember, it was only a couple of months ago we were all wearing gloves to go to the grocery store. What happened to that? We found out it was not an effective strategy. I'm sure that's going to happen, but people have the right to say that now, to question it. They don't have the right to necessarily go into a store and start a fight with the guy at Trader Joe's because he's asking them to wear a mask. No. They don't. But they have the right to explain why they feel wearing masks is a stupid idea or why they think it's a great idea. And I'm telling you, if you let the editors at Twitter and Facebook decide what you can and can't hear, it will be only a matter of time that you won't be able to hear me. Because at what point will they decide that recommending vitamin D for immune system function is subversive information? At what point will they decide that when I tell you cholesterol is not the proper target for heart disease prevention, a subject I wrote a book about with a cardiologist, but goes completely against conventional wisdom about cholesterol and heart disease treatment, at what point is Twitter and Facebook going to decide, oh, that's subversive, that's dangerous information? I would rather we all were subjected to dangerous information and that we put the onus of responsibility on ourselves to be better consumers of that dangerous information, to know when it's nonsense. Because I'm telling you that the consequences of censoring speech you don't agree with, or you think is stupid, or you think is misinformed, and may be misinformed, and may be stupid, you can't censor it. You can't take down a website or a Twitter account because they said something you don't like. That's giving the power of discernment, the power of being able to tell what's good, what's bad, what's useful, what's effective. Taking it away from you and putting it in the hands of some, I don't know what. None of us know what. And none of us want it. Republicans certainly don't want Democrats censoring what can be said, and Democrats certainly don't want Republicans censoring it. And there's no way to avoid that unless you simply say no to that kind of censorship. I'm not all that sophisticated when it comes to social media. I don't know how to start Twitter wars or to make campaigns and all that stuff. But if you do, take a look at the Green Med Info situation. I don't remember who said this back in the beginnings of World War II, but they said first they come for the whatever, and then they come for your neighbors, and finally they come for you. That's what's happening in free speech right now in America. So whether you agree or don't agree with Green Med Info or anybody else on either side of the spectrum or right in the middle, we've got to get together and agree that it's a better world for all of us if that information can be heard, digested, discoursed about, discussed, argued about, but it can be out there in the public square, and it's no one's business to censor it from me and from you. This is Jonny Bowden. And I hope you like this. And if you like this rant and others like it, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Go visit me on my website. Sign up for my newsletter. Do all that stuff. But for God's sake, take a stand against censorship and for free speech.